Hello everyone, Stan from Stan GB Rebuilds here, and today I'm gonna talk about this thing. This thing is a GMP m870 long breacher. This isn't really related to my channel. This isn't a gas gun or a GBB of any sort, but it's somewhat related to my m1100 series. Mostly due to the compatibility between the parts and the history behind them. I'm gonna talk more about history in my in-depth M1100 video, but in this I'm gonna do a disassembly of this thing. I'm gonna do this because if you look around you can not find any decent or in-depth videos on how to disassemble a GMP M870. I searched for it, you can find one, maybe two videos, and they aren't that in-depth. So with this I'm gonna start off. I'm gonna note this is specific for this variant, but the top rail and the stock can differ depending on the version you have. After that it's pretty much the same for every other model of the GMP M870. The first step being removing the pistol grip. I've already loosened the screw on it because it's fairly tight, and that moment when the camera is on you're not getting screw in. So at that point you just screw the grip loose like an M4, GBB M4 for that, and then it comes loose. That's step one. And step two is also a little bit easier. As you see, there's gonna be a big hex screw inside of this one. Just screw this loose and the whole stock will come off in one piece. Again, with that you have the stock base completely off, with the retaining plate on the end. The removal of the rail is a quite simple process, just loosening on both sides those 4 screws, and with that you're finished. Note the screws on the back are screw heads on the back are smaller than the one on the front. Back ones are directly tapped into the inner frame, so be careful with those. The front ones are connected to a pin that goes through the body. So with all the screws on both sides removed, I can now take off the top rail. So it will just slide off and pop off like that. You can see this is clearly a GMP rail, so yeah, it's a GMP shotgun. No surprise there, but up to the next part. The first thing to remove is the barrel clamp. This is done by 2 screws, one on each side. If you remove those, the clamp will come loose. So after removing the last screw, you can just take the both halves out and the barrel clamp is loose. Up to the next part. So next up is the pump grip. This is quite easily because it's only fixed in place by 4 screws. Removing the front tube is very easily, just screw it off, that's it. Just screw this piece off and the tube comes off like it's nothing. Strip assembly just follows, and now we have a very bare bones shotgun at this moment. So from here we're gonna start the internal overview. This will be very comparable to literally all of the GMP shotguns, so let's get started. So first up, we're gonna remove the outer barrel. This is quite easily done because you have two grub screws, one on each side, that has to be removed. So voila, you have the outer barrel removed from the whole assembly. So now the next thing. So after that we're gonna remove the pin that I mentioned inside the body. I'm gonna say you're gonna need a hammer and a punch to get it out. It's fitted in quite tightly, so I'm gonna do this off camera. So after we have punched out the little pin, we can just take out the trigger guard and we can go further with the other steps. With this one we have to remove the body of the inner body and the front assembly. So that's very simple and is done quite easily. In this case we have to remove the copper ring, the brass ring on the end that is keeping everything tight, but that's quite hard, so I'm gonna do that off camera. So after removing the brass ring, this was way easier than I thought, we can now open up both halves of the body. So after we remove the brass ring, we can now go up to some of the next pieces we can do. First of all, we can remove the fake dust cover, very easily done. The next one is to remove this side thingy. This is one of the actual safeties. It prevents you from wrecking the slide after you've primed the replica. Don't lose the spring, this is very easily lost, so time to remove it. After that we're gonna remove the outer barrel. This has to be done in two steps. First of all, we have to remove a tiny grub screw on the top. And underneath the grub screw, you cannot clearly see it, there will be a tiny peg acting as kind of a semi-odd pop-up unit. It's a very tiny peg, don't lose it. At first I didn't know what it was, but now I do. Second part of removing the barrel is removing this cross pin. I've already tapped it out a little bit, but off camera I will now remove it. After removing the peg that's holding in the barrel, we can now safely remove the inner barrel. On the end of the inner barrel there will be a semi-hub unit. The front end is a sort of O-ring that will hold the BBs, and on top we have the old style nubbin hop-up unit. Hop-up, not bucking. Next up we can remove the magazine tube. This is very simply done by unscrewing it from the body. So this is just a hollow tube. Followed by that we can just slide off the guard that was holding on the pump grip. Very simple piece, and it was also clamping on those two parts of the pump arm. Next up we have to remove this tiny little plastic piece. Just slide it off, twist it, and it comes off. After that we can just simply remove all 4 screws from the body. And with this we're inside the inner body. So up inside we first have to remove the inner spring. Very easily done. Just take it, I take it out and gently pull it up. Next up we can remove both the piston and the cylinder. we can also just remove the pump arms from both sides. Then at last we have the internal trigger components, but I'm not gonna remove those in this video. And now, very simply, putting all this back together. So, if you found this video in any way informative or just fun, give a like, share and subscribe. Thanks and bye bye.